From the beginning of civilization, human beings gradually started manipulating nature for their own benefit. They started to destroy nature in numerous ways by anthropogenic activities without caring for sustainable development. As an inevitable consequence, environmental pollution has become a big issue of the present day. It is obvious that environmental pollution will change the distribution and burden of various vector-borne infectious diseases, including bacterial and viral diseases. The study shows till now, there is no report of any clinically approved antiviral drugs or vaccines that are effective against COVID-19. The novel coronavirus has no border, no religion, and spread beyond caste and creed. It is highly contagious in nature and easily unpredictable. The novel coronavirus has 4 stages of transmission, namely Stage 1, imported cases, Stage 2, local transmission, Stage 3, community transmission, and Stage 4, transmission out of control. The time between catching the virus and beginning of symptoms of the disease is known as incubation period. For COVID-19, it ranges from 1 to 14 days, but most commonly around 5 days. The most common symptoms of COVID-19 are fever, tiredness, and dry cough. Some patients may have aches and pains, nasal congestion, runny nose, sore throat, or diarrhea. COVID-19 is a zoonotic disease with intermediate host. Although the intermediate source of origin and transfer to humans is not clearly known. Intermediate host for SARS-CoV is palm civet and camel, while the possible intermediate host for SARS-CoV-2 is pangolin or snakes. The reserve host for all the 3 is bat. Bat carries so many viruses and around 200 coronaviruses without getting sick. So, the primary mode of transmission is from bats to intermediate host to humans. The transmission of COVID-19 can be direct in the form of droplets produced during sneezing, coughing, speaking, and accidentally inhaling the droplets in a close proximity of an infected person. Droplets are water-holding entities of diameter more than 5 m, and these can be caught by a healthy person within a certain range of 1 m approximately. The indirect transmission is when virus is deposited on a dead surface like doorbells, lip buttons, stairs, vegetables, fruits, etc., which may come in contact with rest healthy persons frequently. From here the virus reaches to eyes, nose and mouth and finally leads to a new corona patient. Studies showed that virus takes entry to the respiratory mucosa by angiotensin receptor 2, ACE2, present in lower respiratory tract in abundance mainly in type 2 alveolar cells. The same receptor is used by SARS-CoV. WHO has published guidance on adjusting public health and social measures for the next phase of the COVID-19 responses. Most of these studies show that people who have recovered from infection have antibodies against virus. Due to the non-functioning and closure of industries, industrial waste emission has decreased to a large extent. Minimal activity from industrial sites, factories, and construction sectors improving the air quality. As such, aviation emissions, which accounted for 2.4% of global CO2 emissions in 2018, according to the Environmental and Energy Study Institute, EESI, have dropped significantly. With substantially less vehicular movement, air quality has improved by leaps and bounds. Even NASA satellites from outer space show significant reductions in air pollutants, which supports EcoWatch's observation that the novel coronavirus pandemic has delivered the silver lining of decreased air pollution. The Guardian added, in China, the world's biggest source of carbon, emissions were down about 18%, a cut of 250 mt, equivalent to more than half the UK's annual output. Europe is forecast to see a reduction of around 390 metric tons. Significant falls can also be expected in the US, where passenger vehicle traffic is the major source of CO2, has fallen by nearly 40%. The lockdown is a highly sustainable approach to reduce the noise and injection of tropospheric and stratospheric pollutants. The coronavirus crisis is so far triggered the largest ever annual fall in CO2 emissions in 2020. Ecosystems are being greatly recovered. In many big cities the inhabitants are experiencing a clear sky and clear river water for the first time in their lives. Ozone layer may also be healing. Thus, The lockdown acts as a healing dose for climate change, ozone depletion, human health, brown hazes. Subscribe this channel for more videos to know about the recent researches.